or perhaps, or because I witnessed a beautiful piece of real humanity, blah, 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 or perhaps I realized at that very moment that life in all its glory and wonder is fleeting. The real reason is because I'm selfish and I want to be known as the greatest high-performance coach that ever lived. I don't give a fuck if you die tonight. I just don't. I wouldn't piss on your face if it were on fire. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. On fire. And I wouldn't allow anybody in the room to piss on your face to put out the fire. That's the flat fucking truth. It's going to be Muhammad, Buddha, Christ, Peña, and then Peña, Muhammad. That's why I do it. I'm selfish. And the reason why you're not so successful is because you haven't been selfish. Because what were you taught as a kid? Let the kid play with your toys, right? Don't take all the... You heard all that bullshit. And some of you are telling your kids wrongly that now. First act of selfishness is to love yourself. My wife and my ex-wife, if they were in this room, would tell you, we worshiped the ground Dan walked on, but our love for our husband was transitory in comparison for the love he had for himself. That means non-existent. Nobody loves Dan Peña more than Dan Peña. Nobody. They tell me God does. Well, he have to prove it to me. Talk's cheap. Takes money to buy fucking whiskey, where I come from. And self-esteem is the basis of all high performance. And self-esteem is the basis of all high performance. And do you think that Elon Musk gives a shit what you think of him? No. Do you think Steve did? No. Do you think Bill Gates does? No. Do you think the President of the United States does? Forget about it. And I can go down the list. You may be the only, and I'm talking about it collectively, you may be the only 24 people on the planet that give a shit about what somebody else thinks about you. You may be. Soon to be not. Because when you start, and I don't mean selfish, taking candy from a baby, and I use that example and I get a lot of shit on YouTube about it, you should help cripples across the street. You should help old ladies across the street. When an old lady drops her bag, you should, that's not what I mean. And you don't kick down, you kick up. Okay? In other words, you don't allow people above your station or perceived to be above your station to hurt people below your station. Okay? But you're not selfish enough. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Since you're in the schoolyard. Even when they were wrong, when they went and cried to the teacher and they said that you did it, and even though you didn't do it, they normally listened to them, unless you had witnesses. And then if the witnesses were the kids, big donors to the school, they didn't pay, they believed their story, not yours. Because that was the beginning of political correctness. It was the beginning, if we side with this kid, it's got nothing, as opposed to this kid, and they donate 10,000 pounds a year or $10,000 a year, we're going to start losing donations, and we're going to, the drill. And when that happens time after time after time, it has a self-fulfilling effect. It has a self-fulfilling effect. Even though I never witnessed sexual abuse in the Catholic Church, I sure should know it existed. Now, not then. I saw physical abuse when the nuns and priests beat the shit out of us. And because I did business with the Vatican, I know that they're crooks. All the stories about the financial mishaps and as far as my experience with the Vatican are true. So that section of the Godfather movies about the Vatican Bank, I can believe, because it happened to me. Where there's smoke, there's fire. When there's a lot of smoke, there's a lot of fucking fire. So these things that start in myths, but the financial myths, you've never seen the smoke. You've heard the stories, but you've never personally experienced it. For example, you've been told wrongfully that checking on your credit back in the old days was bad for your credit. If you applied to too many banks, blah, blah, that's all horseshit. That was in the 50s and 60s and maybe the early 70s. Certainly not now. Now you can get free credit scores. I asked Sally, what's our credit score? And I said, I don't know. One time in the last 25 years, I've been asked to do a credit check. One of my boards I'm on, Deloitte, Haskins & Sells. And they came back after 5 months, and they said, Mr. Peña is an enigma surrounded by mystery, or mystery surrounded by enigma, I forget which. They couldn't find anything about me. I don't exist in the financial records of the United States of America. Because I never borrowed any fucking money. And that's how they keep track of you. So I don't know what that does to my credit score. I don't know if that makes it 0 or whatever the max is. But but most of the information that you got, remember that big pile of shit we had, is shit. And when you're looking for a dream team, you're wanting people that did transactions in the tens of billions, cumulatively, right? When you hear this shit, and you're going to hear shit when you go to some people on interviewing process, and the first time you ask the banker, well, what's your credit limit? Excuse me. What's your personal lending limit? Half the bankers you're going to talk to don't know what their own personal lending limit is. What is the lending limit of the bank? Secured, unsecured. And now they're sweating. They're shaking. They want the meeting to be over. They want you out the door. That means you won. They lost. And for those of you that are stupid enough, I used to ask all these questions. How many of you believe in a win-win situation? And most of you would raise your hand, and I'd come around in the 90s and smack you. There is no win-win. It's I win, you lose, moron. Win-win scenarios are preached by losers. Do you think Donald Trump believes in win-win? Do you think Winston Churchill believed in win-win? Now we know Adolf Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin for sure didn't believe in win-win. You have connoted high performance with goodness. In some cases, it couldn't be farther from the truth. It's about winning. And that's today's the first day of the rest of your life of learning how to win. Not some of the time, not most of the time, but all the time. And when we have our first Zoom call and all 24 of your shiny faces, for those that last to the first Zoom call, I say that because we have people quit tonight, graduation night. They leave. When they leave the gate, I never hear from them again. Fine. Less work for me. I don't give a shit. I'd like you all to quit tonight. You don't even have to make your beds when you leave. We have staff for that. You can even have breakfast tomorrow. Don't let the door hit you in your flabby ass on the way out. But my selfish side says, I don't want you to quit because I want you to be successful, so just add to my accolades already. I don't see how they can get any better. But I'm going to be the $1 trillion man. I'm 663 billion into it. I will hit $1 trillion before I hang it up.
You're missing the mentee to cure the world.
Correct. I had another, when I was reading your reports today at lunch, I fell asleep. That's how gripping they were. I'm ashamed to say, I still have 4 or 5 left to read, But Kim had to come wake me up. Sir. What? The castle on fire? What's going on? He says, no, you're falling asleep, and you got to get back in. Oh, so I put him down. But it was gripping stuff. I mean, Tolstoy's got nothing on you guys. I mean, unbelievable. 2 or 3 of you are more or less illiterate. That's fine. You don't have to be literate. And but none of you signed with an X. I've had people sign with an X. As God is my witness. And they weren't even Chinese. Okay, who's my 6 o'clock? Who? 6:30. Okay. Tonight we eat in the castle. We're not done yet. Don't get excited. I just want to say it while I'm thinking about it. Tonight we eat in the castle, and I believe dinner's at 7. Drinks are at 7. Dinner's at 7:30, or as they say in Britain, 7:30. First time I heard of 7:30. What's half what? Is it halfway to 7? Meaning 6. There's a lot of. We're separated by a common language here, and well, of course now I've been here over 30 years, so I'm more or less used to it. You never get used to all of it. In this part of the country, in Scotland, it's I didn't. That means I didn't do it. I didn't. I couldn't. I wouldn't. Okay, and has anybody had any trouble speaking with the staff so far? Okay. Well, that means you're on the illiterate end of the continuum along with the staff. Okay, so that's good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And if you need anything, make sure you stop. Don't stop me. I don't give a shit if you need something. But stop somebody else, the butlers or whoever, and tell them. Hopefully they turn the heat back on. I was going to let it just stay cold to see what happened. But we did this in the hardcore a couple nights, and the guys, especially from the southern hemisphere, the guys from South Africa thought they were in Alaska or something. And but at $240 a day, the staff is just being frugal, But so if anything breaks or anything, make sure you tell somebody. Just don't tell me. Okay.
So here's it.
No, we don't want that. Okay. Now, tomorrow, what webinars do we have? Doesn't he look like an Asian pimp or something back there, or a drug dealer?
Sir, Dr. Joe and Tom Sawyer.
Okay, Dr. Joe, who's an orthopedic surgeon who came here a while back. Highly successful Southern California surgeon. Good-looking guy, 6-pack, 5% body fat, single, but wasn't happy. 7-figure income, multiple 7-figure income, wasn't happy. And and he's rolling up clinical abuse centers, I think. And Tom is the active duty naval officer who should be getting out today, tomorrow, or the next day, but he was active duty. And the bomb guy, the DOD guy. And he had some great stories about bombs and that should have gone off, that didn't, and he's got some great stories. Of course, he lived through the stories, so he thinks they're funny now. If he was one of the statistics, he wouldn't be. Of course, he wouldn't be here to tell the story, would he? Any questions about anything that we've covered so far? Yes, sir.
Why are the lunch breaks so long?
Because I read your reports. Good question. But it's because I read them. And I fell asleep reading them today.
At one point during the seminar, do you talk about habits?
Yep. We don't talk about the habits, like Stephen Covey does, but we talk about Jim Ryan, the greatest milers who never won a gold medal at Olympics, who fell down in the 1968 Olympics, told me many years ago, Dan, motivation gets you started, good habits keep you going. The reason why you have poor habits, and I say collectively, not just to you, but to the YouTubers, is because you're not motivated enough to do something about it. I talked about, we all know how to not gain weight, more calories, less calories, more exercise, yet 2/3 of America and Britain are obese. You're not motivated enough. And we're going to talk about why so many people get into pills and potions, six-packs, because anybody can get a six-pack. It starts in the kitchen. Anybody in this room can get a six-pack. It starts in the kitchen, meaning what you eat. Pills and potions, there are no billionaires. Well, no, I won't say that. You can count the billionaires from six-packs, 5% body fat, and pills and potions on less than 4 fingers. Although ostensibly that is healthcare. There's a reason. Success leaves clues. The reason why the people that do the pills and potions, meaning taking the pills and potions, the people that are doing the exercises, it's like the first 6 weeks of this year, there were more people signed up for health club registration, and by the 3rd month, I think 50% fall off. By the 7th month, 50 of that 50, and by year end, 10 or 15% are actively engaged in healthcare. So good habits are, again, this is not a process. This is not a journey. This is a process that we model successful people. 50 or 60% of the people on this wall are part of the model, the QLA model. I've taken stuff from the Onassis people. I've taken the good stuff from the Vatican. I've taken stuff from the President Trump, Ted Turner, Schwarzenegger, Perot, Steinbrenner, Maggie Thatcher, Hitler, Stalin, the Catholic Church, of course, Andrew Carnegie, Ray Kroc, Attila the Hun. And I didn't know it at the time, but those people, which I had read about before, had influenced me. And that's why they're the influencers. And whereas the stuff that you're reading, the difference is I wasn't looking for a shortcut. I was looking for a path to success. You kids, and I say generally speaking, you're looking for a shortcut. Shortcut and tips, which are favorite words of the gurus, equates easier, an easy way, a less than methodology. Don't understand what I just said? There is no shortcut to success. There is no shortcut to a six-pack. There is no shortcut, to running a marathon. The first marathon I ran in 3 hours. The first. Now they talk about 4, 5, 6 hour marathon runs. I'd be embarrassed. Good night, YouTube.